Hi, everyone, and good evening, and thanks for being a part of the program. It's Thursday, and it's the 14th, and it's another stormy day in the neighborhood. And in fact, it's all kind of due more than not to a low-pressure system and a front slowly crossing the area and combining to give a lot of folks in a lot of parts of Kentucky torrential rainfall, a lot of lightning, and some pretty gusty winds as well. We could get in on that mix. Local look at your radar and more in your forecast in just a few moments with a good shot of some showers and thunderstorms. When I sat down earlier as I was coming into the newsroom 3-4 hours ago, I thought maybe not so much, but that's kind of changing as the hours and evening goes on. We do have more on the weather front after tonight, and that will include some continued chances of showers and thunderstorms. I actually have one, maybe two completely dry days in the mix there somewhere. It's been updated. Your forecast has changed. I'll pass it along to you in just a few moments. Today began early for myself on one of the two mentioned reports on last night's program. We'll pick it up with our top headline in just a few seconds. First, let me give you a glimpse as to two reports we'll be running on tomorrow night's show. The Johnson County Grand Jury has returned several indictments this week, drug trafficking, theft, and other charges. Many Johnson Countyans, and I believe some Magoffin Countyans, at least one involved in this most recent round of indictments returned by the Grand Jury. Well more than a dozen, well more than 16 so far that we have. We have all the indictments in-house, just not reviewed and ready for edit, but we will have a report on those indictments released this week on tomorrow's program before we leave you for the weekend. On a lighter note, this is one of the two special reports that I referred to last night, and that was as far as I went with it. But I sat down today as a local family was saying goodbye to a young man who has lived with them for a year now as a foreign exchange student and who has been welcomed by not just his classmates, sports teams, his church, but everyone who has come to know young Ian was regretfully saying goodbye to him as well. It's not just a story about Ian, which is an exceptional one at that, but also about this family who has welcomed now their fourth exchange student into their home and are looking for their fifth in just a few months. It's a story that you'll certainly be delighted to hear, and we think one that might even encourage someone out there to host someone for maybe 6 months or maybe a year. It's already encouraged one of the three sons of Marie Pruitt to do the same. We'll have that on tomorrow's show as well. There's also some other headlines we're working on as well in regards to some court cases that are ongoing. We'll talk about all of that when I see you tomorrow. A full evening of news planned already. Tonight as well, and we'll pick it up with our first top story this evening, and that a group of young men from Western Kentucky University, which have been biking since the month of May across the United States. I showed you their promo last night, a video, very nicely done video, about their cause, their reason for biking across the nation to raise funds, support, and awareness of Alzheimer's, of which many of them are all too familiar with. I caught up with them this morning on Middle Fork. They were just getting ready to leave and get back on the road, the last leg of their journey, which should last them about another 8 to 10 days. Riding in from Stanton, which was their last stop, they arrived in Sagersville late yesterday afternoon, and I caught up with them just as they were ready to leave the Lakefront Church of God on Route 30, which graciously hosted them for the night. It was there that they rode back to where they had actually finished on the Mountain Parkway on Restaurant Row before heading on east. I spoke with Taylor Lay from Liberty, Kentucky, and Lexington native Carson Ball, both Western Kentucky University students and Phi Gamma Delta brothers. They told me about their fourth trip that this makes for the fraternity and for their cause, a trip that they started planning a year and a half ago.
Yeah, we started getting the group together in the the winter of 2014, and then kind of finalized a lot of the stuff that spring. In the fall of 2015, we established our 501c3 nonprofit, and ever since then we've just been getting details down and working for it, and we left Bowling Green on May the 15th out for Seattle.
And as soon as they got to Seattle, well, they left and headed back east, this time on their bicycles. They pulled out on May the 21st, biking in mostly good weather, only 5 or so rainy days, through some of the most beautiful and interesting parts of our nation.
We average about 75 miles a day, and I mean, coming through Kentucky was probably the coolest experience of the whole trip, getting to see all of our friends and family, and getting to come back to Western Kentucky and having all of our friends and family lined up the streets, and getting to spend some time there when we were just there about 2 months ago. It just kind of seemed really surreal for all of us.
And with every stride along the way, remembering why they're doing this. Many of the group have a direct understanding of Alzheimer's, and all are keenly aware of the lives and memories that it steals.
A lot of guys in our crew do. They've had personal connections, friends, and family with Alzheimer's. Some of us don't, but I think we've all gotten to share that experience from our trip. We've volunteered several different times at care centers and communities, and we've personally seen the effects of Alzheimer's, and I think we all feel the same way about the need to find a cure for the disease.
Just about every single person we talk to will come by and say, like, oh man, my grandmother died of Alzheimer's, or my aunt had Alzheimer's, or something, and it's just kind of made it more special for us. And so it really is, a lot of people are affected by it, and whenever they see that and see us, and they try to get some more information, they like what they do, and that's kind of how we get most of our donations.
This is our fourth ride and our fourth time doing this, and we've done this every other year since 2010. And recently with our 501c3 status, we've picked up on our fundraising. We really want to be able to make a difference for Alzheimer's communities across the country. And so something that we're doing special this year is that all the money that we raise in a location goes back to the Alzheimer's chapter in that location. So when we get into Virginia, all the money that we raise in Virginia will be going back to the Richmond Alzheimer's chapter. And we just want people to know that the money that they give to us will go back to their community and will help sponsor that community. And also, next year's ride is starting to be planned, so be looking out for the 2017 trip across the country. So,
If you're interested about the university, about these young men, about their cause, about their trip, bike4alz.org, not .com, but .org is where you can find them. They've got about another 8 days or so left on their trip. Not super long days, they tell me. They've also got a little time to relax mixed in there. All their Virginia stops are set with some resting planned, and their family is going to be waiting for them at the beach. And they're as excited about the bus ride home as you can imagine. It's just always staggering every time that I have a report like this to think how many reports I have done. I don't have the number, but of individuals or groups who have set forth across this country of ours on foot, on bike, on horseback, or what have you, in an effort to raise awareness for their respective cause. We've had the opportunity to interview a lot of them, and this certainly ranks right up there among them all as far as one of our better stories to share.